Okay, first thing we're going to do today is learn how to do the GCF, greatest common factor. We're going to learn how to use in the calculator. We're going to do a few examples, and I'll let you work on the rest yourself. First one right here, we're going to work on the numbers first. So I look at 3 and 6. I'll show you how to make little T-charts. We're going to do 3, then we're going to do 6. We're going to use a calculator to do this work for us, so we don't have to think about doing anything. On the calculator, make sure it's cleared, start fresh, and go to your y equals. In your y equals, you're going to take the number that you want to find the factors for. You can type it in the calculator, and then you're going to divide that number by x. So the first one we're going to do is 3, and we're going to divide 3 by x. Switch these. Okay. When I have 3 divided by x in the calculator, I'm going to go ahead and look at the table. In the table, we're going to go through and we're going to find values where both of these are integers. So 0 is never going to work because 0 times anything is always 0 and we're not looking for 0. So the first one is 1 and 3. 1 and 3 are both integers, so they work. My next one is 2 and 1.5. While 2 times 1.5 is 3, we only want integers, so we don't want that one. Our next one is 3 and 1. But we'll notice that 3 and 1, the numbers have repeated themselves. My numbers have repeated themselves. So I don't need those. So my only factors are 1 and 3. Let's do the same thing for 6. So I'm just going to replace the 3 with the 6. Look at the table. And right here, 1 and 6. I go down 2 and 3. And then my next one is 3 and 2. Oh, they repeat themselves. Since they repeat themselves, I don't have to go any further. So there's my factors there. Once I have my factors listed out, I can look across them and I can just say find the biggest number. I start with the biggest number on my smallest factor. The biggest one is 3. 3, they both have 3. That's my greatest common factor for the numbers. Then I look at my variables. Do they share any common variables? No, this is an x, this is a y, so they don't have anything in common with regards to variables. So 3 is my complete greatest common factor. Now I just need to multiply. What do I multiply 3 by to get 3x? That'll be x. 3 times x is 3x. Then I go in here, what do I need to multiply 3 by to get 6? If you don't know these numbers, you can look here. 3 times 2, the number you circled here, is x. Is 6, I mean. So this will be plus 2, and I still need that y. But basically what you should have left in here is nothing that has anything in common. Everything here should be different. They should both not have x's, they should not have any type of numbers that have a factor. Let's look at number 2. Number 2, we have two numbers we need to take the factors of. We have 3 and 9. 3 we can get our factors from over here. 1 and 3. And 9 I plug into my calculator. In my calculator, go to y equals, get rid of that 6 and put a 9. 9 divided by x. Look at the table. Factors are 1 and 9. 2, 3, 3, and 3. Okay. My 3's repeated there, so I'm done. Those are all the factors. You can make the claim that there are more with the negatives. -1, -9 works. -3 works as well. We're going to hold off for negatives unless we need them. If you can't get your answers with positive numbers, then go look at negatives later. Biggest number here, 3 and 3. So that's part of my greatest common factor. But this one right here, if I look at my variables on both my terms, both of my variables have an x. I'm simply going to take that x out. I want the smaller of the two. So this has a 2, this has a 1. I'm going to take the 1. The reason we take the smallest one out is because it will go into the big one. They both don't have y, so I can't pull the y out. So now I need to know 3x times what gets me 3x squared. Multiply by x. That gets you your x squared. If you pull the x squared out, That would be 1, and that wouldn't work. So then we have 3 times what gets us negative 9. That will be negative 3. You already have that x because we pulled that singular x out. And then we need our y. To make sure we did it right, we can check it. 3x times x, 3x squared. 3x times negative 3y, negative 9xy, and that's what we have up there. So solution there, solution there. Now we're going to move on over to 3. Number 3, we have 2 different numbers we haven't looked at yet. We have 2 and we have 7. If I plug those in the calculator, you will realize that 2 and 7 are prime numbers. Prime numbers mean that they only have the factors of 1 and themselves. So the only thing they have in common is 1, which means we don't really take anything out for a greatest common factor for the number. So I don't have anything yet for my greatest common factor because there's nothing really for me to pull out. But if I look at my variables, I see that I have an r squared and an r. They both have an r. Okay? R times what gets us 2r squared? What's 2r? R times what gets us 7r plus 7. I can test it. R times 2r, 2r squared. R times 7, 7r. That's all we have there. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do one of these longer ones down here that have multiple terms in there and multiple variables. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, we have 4, 6, and 8. If I do my t-charts for 4, 6, and 8, remember 4 divided by x, 6 divided by x, and 8 divided by x. I get 1 and 4, 2 and 2, 1 and 6, 2 and 3. We've already done those. And 8 will be 1 and 8, 2 and 4, and then they start repeating. Start over here at the smallest one. I have a 4. They don't have 4s. 2. They all have 2s. 2, 2, 2. So my greatest common factor for the number part is 2. Then I can look at the r's. Do they all have r's? Yes. What's the smallest one? They all have a 2. So I can pull out an r squared for both of them. They all have s's. S, S, yes. What's the smallest one? Smallest one is s to the first power. Then I have t's. All have t's. Smallest one is t to the first. So that is my greatest common factor. All of that's my greatest common factor. 2 for the numbers. They all have an r squared, so I pulled that out. They all have s's, and the smallest one is an s to the first. And they all have t's, and the smallest one is t to the first. Then I just test my multiplication. 2 times 2 is 4. R squared we already have. We don't need to include that now. Then we have s. S times s gets us s squared. And t times t gets us t squared. 2 times 3 is 6. R squared we have. S we already have. We need another t squared. Sorry, another t to get the t squared. There's my t. That's negative, so I need a negative 4 when I multiply here. R squared's there. S, well, s needs to be an s squared in s. T is already t. And that's what we have. 2r squared, st, times 2st plus 3t minus 4s. And that is the greatest common factor.